Recording is in the public domain. This recording by Karen Cummins. Chapter 20. Christmas in Alaska. Thursday, December 13th. The old Eskimo whom I call Grandpa came from the home with one of Mr. H's assistants for a load of supplies for the place and arrived in time for breakfast at 9:30. They loaded up the sleds, took hot coffee, and started back at 11 in the morning. Mr. M came back alone before noon, having given up his trip to the Koyuk because his shoulder hurts him. The old horse had finally to be killed, and Mr. M decided that he did not want to take his place at hauling, so turned back after selling part of his supplies to the others. The weather is fine indeed. A little snow is falling this afternoon, but there was a beautiful sky at sunrise and sunset, the latter at 1:30. While giving Jenny her lesson today, I was introduced for the first time to little Charlie, who spends a good deal of time with Jenny. He is 4 years old and a bright and beautiful child. His papa is an Englishman, and his Eskimo mother is dead. After the lesson, I read stories to the two children, holding the little boy upon my lap, while Jenny sat beside us in the lamplight, her big black eyes shining like stars. She wore a brown serge dress, trimmed with narrow red trimming, her hair neatly braided in 2 braids down her back and tied with red ribbons. Both children wore little reindeer mucklucks on their feet, the boy being dressed in flannel blouse waist and knee pants. They are a very pretty pair of children. Such a charming, soft-tinted, red, purple, and blue sky today, stretching along in bars above the snow-topped mountains. It makes one glad to be here and feel full of pity for those who cannot enjoy it with us. It is good to enjoy everything possible as one goes along, for nobody knows how long anything will hold out and what will come next. At noon, 2 hungry Eskimo children came, dirty, forlorn, and cold, and we fed them. Mr. H came again toward evening with reindeer to get a load of supplies, and the girls and M went fishing. They had great sport, all dressed in fur, with short fish poles, hooks, bait, and gunny sack for the game, coming in frosty and rosy after dark and calling for hot coffee. I am quite interested in getting the fox skins for my coat. I have paid the Eskimo girl $5 for tanning my fur skins and hope to have a warm coat. My first 3 skins cost me $12, the next 2 $10, and now $5 for tanning. But I have a lining, and Molly will make it for me next week. After supper, we had a caller who has been here once before with others. He is a finely trained baritone singer and comes from one of the southern states. He sang and played entertainingly on the organ for an hour, while we sewed and knitted as we do each evening. Saturday, December 15th. 8 weeks today since we landed at Golovin Bay. Weather good, skies beautiful, but days are short. Sunset at 1:30 in the afternoon. Sunrise about 10 in the morning. The commissioner came with legal documents and customary jokes, and I try to get the copying done in between times. He is going to Nome for Christmas and wants the papers all finished before he leaves. He is considered a very rapid young man and looks like it. Sunday, December 16th. We had breakfast today at sunrise, 10 in the morning, and I went for a walk alone upon the ice in a southerly direction, where the natives were fishing. There was a good trail which has been made by a horse team hauling wood from the other shore, and the air was fine, so that I enjoyed it very much, though my hood was soon frosty around my face. For a while, I watched the natives haul tomcod up through the ice holes, but having no place to sit except upon the ice, as they did, I returned after having been gone 2 hours, and was soon dressed for dinner in Sunday suit. After dinner, Mr. H arrived with the teacher to hold an evening service in the kitchen, the latter taking Rika and Mary with her to call upon some native families, two of whose members were sick. When they returned, Rika was full of laughter at the way they had entered the native igloos, especially Mary, who is a large woman and could barely squeeze in through the small opening called by courtesy a door. Rika says it was more like crawling through a hole than anything else, and at one time, Mary was so tightly jammed in that she wondered seriously how she was ever to get out. "Ah," said Rika, when Mary related the incident. "That was not the worst of it. I wanted to keep the good dinner I had eaten, but the smell of the igloo almost made me lose it then and there. And as I was inside already, and Mary stuck fast in the door so that I could not get out, we were both in a bad plight. When I tried to help her, she would not let me, but only laughed at me." "Next time we'll send Mrs. Sullivan," said Alma, laughing. "And you go along with me," said I, knowing that I could stand as long as Alma the smell of the Eskimo huts and their seal oil. So that was settled. Miss J, I presume, thinking us all very foolish to make so much fuss over a little thing like that in Alaska. This evening, when the kitchen was filled with natives, their service had begun, and while some of us sat in the sitting room to leave more chairs for the others, there came a knock at the door, and in walked the commissioner and the young baritone singer, who was persuaded to sing a few solos after the meeting was through in the kitchen. Monday, December 17th. Molly is cutting my fur coat for me, but says I must have one or two more skins to make it large enough. She says she is too busy to study before Christmas, but will afterwards. The commissioner brought more copying for me to do and told me I could have the money for my work at any time. Some tell me he never pays anything he owes, and that I must look sharp or I will not get anything. The other commissioner has invited me to go to a New Year's party at council, 50 miles away, saying he will take me there and back behind his best dogs. But I refused, telling him that I never dance and that I'm a married woman. At that he laughed, said he was also married, with a wife in the States, but that does not debar him from having a good time. Word comes of a new gold strike not far away, but I think we are not really sure that it is bona fide and must not put too much dependence on what we hear. The commissioner comes with his copying and is full of jokes. Wednesday, December 19th. A man came from the home yesterday who has persuaded M to go with him on a short staking expedition. They think they know of a new find very near home, and I ran over to the recorders to get 2 attorney papers made out for them to take as they say they will stake for the girls and me. The commissioner paid me $20 on copying and said he would settle the remainder when he got back from Nome, as he and the other commissioner were just setting out with a dog team for that place. I have had to buy another fox skin for my coat, making $27 paid out on the garment thus far. Right sorry I was today that Mr.